How many dogs go to heaven?
Some dogs. But when we say some dogs go to heaven, we mean they get rescued and they get out of hell and they go to a really fabulous home. That's what that means.
I'll be alright when you can't see. Guide you with love and loyalty. I'll live my life to serve your needs, and all that I ask is that you please save me from this cruel, senseless sin. I was born to be your friend. Save me, 'cause I can't save myself without your help. Save me.
My name's Geraldine Gilliland, and I am from Belfast in Northern Ireland, where I did not have a dog growing up. I grew up in Belfast in a lower middle class neighborhood. We were very happy as a family, and everything went along well. School was great, our parents were great, and then the troubles came. And the troubles just changed everything for me personally. The civil unrest in Northern Ireland started really in 1969 with people like Bernadette Devlin starting to march for equal pay, equal rights for Catholics and for Protestants. In fact, I was one of those people that marched alongside Bernadette Devlin, even though I was very young at the time, and it was really dangerous to get involved in those marches. They're called the peace marches. It's more than Catholic and Protestant, actually. Safe to say that it was a very difficult time, and many people were killed and wounded and mentally injured from everything that happened in those days. I think it was a daily thing, experience fear. I mean, it became a way of life like everything else. But I think one of the most terrifying nights was, there were gun battles going off all the time. And I looked out of my bedroom window and there was some British soldiers with like face makeup on, and they were just crawling through our garden looking for Irish terrorists. And I think seeing them really, 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 really scared me. It was pretty awful. But truly, truly, truly the worst experience was my baby brother. He got hijacked by the IRA, and they came into our shop and they took him at gunpoint because we had a Ford Cortina car. Anyway, they took my brother and they made him hit the car with a bomb in it, and they went to a bank in downtown Belfast, held up the bank, got all the money, took the bomb, blew up the bank, and took my brother to a street called Leeson Street and put a hood over his head because he could identify them. And he was trapped in Leeson Street for, I think 3 days. My mother went ballistic. She ended up getting my brother back through pressuring the members of the Irish Republican Army to let my brother go, or she would report them to the British Army. And at this point, just so you know, the British Army were all over Belfast and Andersonstown and the Falls Road. You couldn't go anywhere without going through a checkpoint. Everything stopped. You got searched every time you went downtown and came out of downtown. Some other things that happened were, bomb scares. So you would go to see a movie and everybody would all of a sudden get the notice, okay, bomb scare, everybody out. So we lived with the British Army on patrol every single day for years and years and years. And they used to go up and down the Falls Road, which is where we had our wee tiny butcher grocery shop. And we had like a doorway And they would, duck in the doorway and check around, have their rifles and everything. And one day a shot rang out, and they shot the soldier dead in our shop in the doorway. It was brutal. In 1975, a bunch of us decided to come to America and just come for a summer holiday. And I had a 2-month visa, and I fell in love with the United States, so I overstayed my visa. My friends went back to Ireland, and I just stayed here for 2 years until I got back to see my mother. I was an ice cream scooper. I worked in an Irish bar. I worked in a restaurant as a server. I made hardly any money. I made like $2 an hour. So I did dumpster dive until I got my break. I went to Williams-Sonoma. I saw there was free classes in Williams-Sonoma in Beverly Hills, and I went to the free class, and it turned out to be an English lady who was teaching Indian cooking. I became really good friends with her, and she got me my first job at Santa Monica High School in Malibu teaching Indian cooking. And then finally in 1984, I opened my first restaurant, and I've opened 6 restaurants. My first dog was a dog called Bridget, and it's actually a funny story. My husband heard about this dog that was at a restaurant in Venice called 72 Market Street, and she was running on the roof. She was a black and white, like a Jack Russell Terrier, and I had a restaurant, and the restaurateur notified Theodore, my husband, about the dog, so I said I would adopt the dog, and I named her Bridget. And she became a mascot for my first restaurant, Gilliland's. I mean, she was hysterical. The people loved her coming in. My husband and I were living in Topanga Canyon, and we found a litter of puppies, and one of the littlest ones, her name was Chiquita. And so we took them. There were 5 puppies and the mama, and we bought a house in Malibu with land, so we could raise them as our own, and that's what started the idea for Chiquita's Friends, was this little dog with a broken leg called Chiquita. Chiquita the dog, the most beautiful. She was a beagle, pit bull mix. Her mother was a pure pit bull, so Papa must have been a beagle, and she was the love of my life. I started rescuing dogs out of Mexico through Facebook. It started with my Mexican restaurant. I owned a Mexican restaurant for 32 years, and I started going down to Mexico to study cooking, and then I would see the street population and the dogs. So we started picking up dogs on the streets of Mexico and getting them into foster, getting them vetted, getting them transported across the border, and then they would come to my ranch and we would get them forever homes. We launched it in 2012, and I had an event at the house in Malibu with 250 people. And we honored another amazing dog lady called Linda Blair, who was in the Exorcist movie. And that was the launch of Chiquita's Friends. Rescuing dogs around the world is so important. People always say to me, why Mexico? And I say, why not? I have friends that do it in Thailand, and I have friends that do it in South America. For me, Mexico was the natural choice because of my connections with the community of Mexico through the restaurant.
To help one sick animal in the United States, you could probably help 20 in Mexico. So it does give me a sense of purpose, and it also it allows me to actually make a difference. Because the dog is a dog. It's not like a soccer match. It's United States versus Mexico or China versus Guadalajara. A dog is a dog, regardless of where it's standing. I started doing Tijuana, and I went to what I thought was the worst place on earth. It's called Cartelandia, the land of cardboard and cartels.
where the dogs and the people were very poor, and most people slept on simple dirt floors, and there was a cartel activity, very dangerous place to go. The stray dog population in Mexico is horrific. I don't actually have numbers. I think they're probably way higher than anybody knows. I do know that at the dump that we went to the landfill, I do know there were 50 stray dogs there, that people just came and dumped their dogs at the dump. Those were bigger dogs, and then the litters were all over at the recycling part of the dump. We got a call about 25 puppies and 3 mothers that were at a landfill and a dump. So we drove out to the dump, posse of 7 in my Sprinter van, and we had it all decked out, ready with crates and everything. And when we got to the dump, I truly was not expecting how horrific it was. The dogs' mothers were eating rocks, and the puppies were still all nursing. We got everybody loaded into the van, and then one mother we couldn't find. She just took off. So we had to put 10 puppies back in the dump because they were nursing. The other puppies were old enough to be weaned, so it was horrific to put them back once they'd been in my car. And I begged Sandy, my associate, please, let's do it. Let's take them now. We'll come back for Mama. And she said, no, we can't. We have no staff. We can't bottle feed them 3 times a day. There were 10 of them. See, I start to cry when I think about the homelessness of these poor animals. One of the worst things that happened this year was I lost 4 panda puppies, we called them. They looked like little tiny pandas. They were only 4 weeks old, and they all had distemper, and I had to put them to sleep, and it was just really awful. I try not to get attached to them because I know that I would keep them all. And so when people come and get the dog to go home with them, it's very emotional. But I just want the best for the dog. The most amazing dog, his name was Diego. And I saw Diego on Facebook, and he had a giant tumor the size of a grapefruit, bright red, on his neck. And his owner threw him out on the street because he didn't want to take care of him. I got him into chemotherapy in Mexico. He had to be isolated for 10 weeks. The chemo treatments, the tumor totally went away. Like, it wasn't cut off, it just went away. And he came to America, became a gringo. He lived with me in Malibu for, oh my God, a year. And I just put him up for adoption. And an incredible woman adopted him. She's a school teacher, and she lives in Morro Bay. And he's a senior. Diego, I miss him the most, I think, of all the dogs. Rancho Chiquita, we had about 28 dogs that ended up to be my personal dogs. I had no idea that I wasn't supposed to keep them all. They call me a foster failure for that reason. I just love when they arrive and they come here, and they like 4 weeks ago, we got 17 dogs one night at midnight, I kid you not, all the way from Tijuana. And we had Rosemary and 9 puppies, we had Guerra and 5 puppies, and then a bunch of stragglers that just hopped a ride, and every single one of them got adopted. The overflow of dogs started in 2017 when I bought a ranch in Agoura Hills. This is our rescue in Agoura Hills, and the beautiful 3 miles called Cornell, home to the Reagan Ranch, Paramount Pictures, the Old Place Restaurant, Peter Strauss Ranch. This is our caboose that came with the property when I bought it 3 years ago, and this is basically what funds the rescue. We rent this amazing train out on Airbnb. This is the welding shop, and we are in the process of designing this to be another kennel where we'll have 4 outdoor-indoor runs and then indoor sleeping at night. And this is where we put dogs that have to go into quarantine, particularly litters. Like, we had Rosemary and her 9 babies in here, and we had Guerra and her 5 babies in here. Until we really get the vet to see them, we just try to keep them separated. Walking through this place, it's a magical atmosphere. We're in these beautiful mountains Look all around. And this is like the perfect place to take abused and sick dogs and get them homes.
I rescue dogs and cats from mostly kill shelters. I do work a little bit with, some humane societies that are a little nicer, but right now I do a lot of the cats at my house. I built out my whole upstairs as an indoor-outdoor cattery. I have some fosters. The dogs, unfortunately we have them in boarding. And that's what we have to do. Yeah, I mean, we found a place that's affordable, but yeah, I mean, it's, thank God when this is done, we don't have that boarding issue anymore. So this is the front of the building. This is the welcome center and the adoption area where we have little rooms for meeting, your potential new family member and some administrative stuff. And also there's a little 1-bedroom suite in there where somebody's going to live on the property.
They have to live here, right?
Yeah, we feel we need somebody.
You have to.
And then over here is the dog building. This is where all the dogs will be housed. There's indoor and outdoor, and this whole middle section will be play yards, basically. I think there's 3 different play yards with shade, and some AstroTurf and some grass. And then over here we have the cat building. So this is where all the cats will be. And basically they built it out where it's a lot of private suites. So
I love that.
We have an ISO area where obviously we'll have cages and things when they come from the shelter, because you've got
kennel cough.
Well, yeah, for cats it's Panleuk or ringworm or some upper respiratory problem. So that's going to be great. And then once they're cleared, there's lots of little private rooms where we'll, have cat trees and they'll have, a nice space to stretch their legs.
Hey, so we are in a colonia in San Jose del Cabo in Baja, Mexico. And we're at the home of Edgar, a personal friend of mine, and he also drives me when I'm here. He alerted me about a month ago that there was a pregnant dog on the street near his house, and I asked him if he would take her to Dr. Sol, the vet here in San Jose, and get her treated because she wasn't well. And then he brought her home to his house, and then she gave birth to 8 beautiful, healthy puppies, 3 boys and 5 girls. And if Edgar hadn't brought her to his home, 100% chance that she would have been dying on the streets with all the puppies. So this is why we do spay and neuter, and that's why it's so important. No more babies.
I mean, I think what you're doing in Mexico with the spaying and neutering, I mean, we can't, I'm sure everyone has said this, but we can't rescue our way out of this mess with all these animals. So the only thing we could really do is spay and neuter and really have at it. So I think that work is so important.
Chiquita's Friends has been spaying and neutering for 3 years now. We've kind of morphed into not just rescue, but sterilization of dogs and cats in Mexico. In Mexico, dogs and cats contribute to the overpopulation, and therefore it is a very cruel way to die. These people cannot manage all these dogs and cats that just have litter after litter after litter.
When you spay one dog, in 6 years, that dog has the potential of having 66,000 offspring. So when you spay a dog, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you're actually preventing suffering before it starts.
We are in Cabo Cris Ranchito. This is the place in close to the wild Green Cabo. This place was a donation from the local people for the shelter. They gave us this place for 3 years ago. And we construct this place for dogs. We have 36 dogs here. All of them are the big breeds. Most of them they were abandoned, or they were on the street, but they were harmed to people, sick or something like that. But most of them they were abandoned on the streets. I've been here. I worked here for 4 years. I start as a volunteer, then I stay. Coming first once a week and twice a week and stay. Okay, if the dogs shouldn't be here, they could be dead because they're on the street, nobody takes care of them.
Another thing that they do in Mexico, which is really awful, the local authorities go out into the streets with rat poison and they leave it out for the dogs, and the dogs die from the rat poison. It's a horrific death. Honestly, I think that with the education of Casa Sheila and Pet Los Cabos and the Humane Society and a great network of men and women, I think they're actually getting the government involved now and the children of the people that see these dogs on the streets. So I think they're getting the message through all the work that these people are doing with these clinics. Like, you know, to do 300 cats and dogs in one day is no mean feat. So we're a drop in the ocean, but we're getting there. People are now starting to be educated about spaying and neutering, and they're bringing their dogs and they line up at 5 o'clock in the morning with their cats, and they get a free clinic so that they don't have to pay for it. They actually operate on the dogs on ironing boards in parking lots, so it's pretty crude, and it's a bit of a shock when you see how it's done, but we save thousands, millions of lives this way. The campaign today is hosted by Pet Los Cabos, which is another nonprofit that I collaborate with. Chiquita's Friends is the sponsor of today's clinic, and Pet Los Cabos has a veterinary clinic, they have a rescue, and they also have a ranch where they take in homeless stray dogs, cats, and horses and donkeys.
My husband and I started Pet Los Cabos in August of 2017, and it was a very humble original goal of maybe doing 100 surgeries a month, and that has grown so much because of the support of people like Geraldine, like people of the community. This event, for example, all the people that are here. I'm very proud to say that we have done over 18,000 spay-neuters since we started in August of 2017. And we were able to open the Second Chance Ranch last year. We've been able to place hundreds of dogs and cats in loving homes, which really fills our heart with joy, and we love doing it. But we always understand that the long-term solution is spay, neuter, and education programs. And that's why we work so hard to create awareness and to change the culture within our community so that the perception is different, so that there's more value put on our companion animals, and that we can really work on the root of the problem with the spay, neuter, and education programs.
We publicize these clinics on social media, and everybody's watching for the next free clinic. They're free to the locals, and a team of veterinarians, they drive to this part of Cabo from La Paz, usually headed up by Dr. Erickson. There are typically 9 vets and possibly 9 vet techs. Plus we have anesthesia and shaving and to get them ready for surgery. So here's the deal. I just checked in with Aida and Evaristo, and we have 500 animals here. And we cannot do 500 animals. The max they can do today is 300. They don't have the veterinary power, and they don't have enough anesthesia, and they just couldn't possibly do any more than, 300 or so. I've never seen a crowd like this in 3 years that I've been doing this. It makes me feel fabulous that we're going to do 300 animals, but at the same time, it's like, what about the others? But they'll come back in 3 weeks and do another one, pretty sure.
Today, we have a spay-neuter campaign. We had not been in this area for quite a while. So we had an overwhelming response. We're doing a spay-neuter campaign. We're going to do 320 dogs and cats today. The doctors have been working since 6 in the morning with the first surgeries. We had roughly 550 animals. And what happens is we open up our campaigns to independent rescuers and people that bring animals in from their different communities. So we don't put a limit on it. So you could have one person showing up with 20 dogs and cats. The challenge for us is that we do not have the capacity from a person point of view, the doctors can only do so many. And also, unfortunately, today the park is now only available till 4 o'clock. So we're gonna do 320, and the rest we're going to move to next weekend, and we'll do it all over again. So those people will have the priority next weekend so that they for sure can get their animals in.
Okay, so we're here with Casa Sheila. We're at the Boys and Girls Club in San Jose del Cabo. And how many are we hoping to sterilize today?
We would love to do 300 today. We are doing about the same amount of cats as dogs. Sometimes in areas we have more cats, sometimes we have more dogs. And it's pretty equal today. Yeah, we're very grateful that we have this team because if we didn't, we couldn't do what we do. It still costs us a lot of money, but we give the sterilization for free.
Oh, speaking of money, Chiquita's Friends would like to sponsor.
Oh, thank you. We can only do this with generous donors. That's our only way of doing it. So before Geraldine and some of the others that donate a lot, we were having as many events as we possibly could. Poker nights and speed dating, and we would get it a little at a time, but we couldn't actually make a date for a clinic until we had a certain amount of money. So this has made it so much easier on us.
We worry at night. Sometimes we don't sleep because we don't know how many are still out there. And the people that are coming today, these are not street dogs. These are somebody's pet. So the education process of having this interest by the local community here is monumental.
Well, our plan is to spay and neuter about 300 animals. This is the part of the Mexico that most tourists never see. Kind of the uglier side, the really needy, amazing people side of Mexico that is just a few miles outside of the tourist zone. We need to lower the amount of animals on the streets. There's tens of thousands of animals out here that have no home, are sick, are just dying in the streets. And we have people now who actually want to get their animals fixed and can't afford it. So we bridge that gap. We give them a free clinic thanks to wonderful donors, and we get their animals fixed so there won't be so many on the streets. We have a long, long, long way to go, but our goal is always 300 every clinic. Part of what we do at Casa Sheila is we have a youth ambassador program.
Yes.
That goes along with our education program. We feel it is very important for the youth that are growing up to be responsible for their animals, to show others how to be responsible, to develop a passion to help their community, and to just learn as they go. A lot of these kids take this passion back to school and talk to their friends and talk them into getting their animals spayed and neutered. I mean, at this point, it's whatever it takes, but we're really proud of the kids that we have and their dedication to coming here at dark 30 and ready to work the entire day.
When you can't see, guide you with love.
Would we ever be able to knock out the homeless street dog problem in Mexico? Probably not. We're making a huge dent.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing at least 1,500 animals a month.
Yeah, I mean that's
And they're
crazy.
not homeless dogs, by the way.
No, these are
They're
people's
these
dogs,
People own
yeah.
these dogs.
All that I ask is that you please save.
We are very, very fortunate to have the support of so many people that we've met through the years and all the networking that we've done. But again, we never lose fact of the main goal, which is we need to change our community's culture, our community's way of viewing this amazing animal. And that's what we really work towards. But of course, there's no other feeling like knowing that the dog that you picked up from the street and you nurtured and cared for now has an amazing home.
Let human kindness lead the way.
It's our responsibility to get the animals fixed. Ours. So if they choose to get a puppy or a kitten, part of that responsibility is vaccinating and spay and neuter. And I know a lot of people cannot afford it, but we are working our butts off to provide free. So please take advantage of it, get it done, and be part of the solution.
'Cause I can't save myself without your help. Save me.
My dream would be to see no street dogs, no pregnant street dogs, and dying on the streets of all kinds of abuse, of starvation. My dream would be to have no more sick or pregnant animals.
Let this be my end. I was born to be your friend. Save me. 'Cause I can't save myself without your help. Save me.
My mother should have let me have a dog growing up, because look what happened.